KSI beat Tommy Fury.
Oh my lord, last night was a bit crazy.
I got far too drunk and shouted far too much at the Prime Card boxing event. In this video, I need to speak about what happened last night, and we're going to go through the main events. I'm going to be going round by round of the KSI Fury fight and explaining exactly what I thought happened. But before that, I think it's worth looking at the Logan Paul versus Dillon Danis fight first and just giving some thoughts on that. The main story from this fight was how the hell can Dillon Danis come out and have a performance like that after all the talking he's been doing this entire time. He looks like an absolute he looks so stupid after that performance, and I knew it from the start. That's what I've been saying this whole time. Don't like the guy, don't think he's a good fighter. Everyone knows that. It's just a bunch of kids, for some reason, seem to get swept up in all the trash talking he was doing. I want to mention, someone on the commentary in this fight kept calling Logan Paul Jake Paul. I think it was Todd Grisham. I don't know why Todd Grisham keeps being put on commentary for these things. More Ariel Helwani, less Todd Grisham. For most of the fight, we didn't really see anything interesting because Dillon Danis just didn't want to engage at all. I don't think he was scared. I think the reason that Dillon didn't want to engage is either he was trying to tire Logan out, which is something that we've heard him say throughout the build-up of this fight, or Dillon just wanted to get out of there without being knocked out, because I think to him that could seem like some sort of a victory. The reason I think that is because he has tweeted about people thinking he wouldn't get out of the first round, that he's similar to Ben Askren. Either way, it was embarrassing for him. The biggest shame from this fight is that Dillon wasn't just absolutely flattened. Logan didn't really look great either in this fight, but I think a big reason for that could very well be how Dillon was fighting and just not doing anything. It's hard to look good against someone who's just not doing anything. The only other thing to talk about to do with this fight is Dillon's ridiculous antics, trying to go for a takedown on Logan, trying to get him in a chokehold. It's embarrassing. The only people who think that's funny or think it's a good thing to do are literally children. It's boring. Man up and fight. Dillon Danis is like that kid at school that would always try and get the teacher to fight them and hit them because they know that the teacher's not allowed to. You know that little shit. You know the one. Let's get into the main story for this video then. KSI versus Tommy Fury. A lot of people were saying that this fight was all clinching. I didn't really think about that when I was watching it live, but I've since watched it again to fully analyze it, and there's a lot of clinching there is. Something I don't think people quite understand fully is that a lot of what they're considering clinching there, which is not something that they think is interesting, it's kind of like inside work, inside fighting, almost like having like a half clinch, half inside work type of thing. But even regardless of that, there was a lot of clinching. Oh god, I'm so hungover. At this point, I'm going to remind you to subscribe and like the video and check the links in the description. There's a bunch of interesting stuff, such as our Kick channel, where we did a live stream where we watched each fight. You can see our live reactions on there for a limited time. So round one, KSI was hit in the back of the head, and to start with, it looked like KSI was playing it up a lot, but then they showed the replay and it really did deserve kind of acting up about. Both guys landed kind of a similar amount of shots, but KSI was better tactically while they were tied up, which is obviously a lot of the fight. The shots that were landed out of the two, KSI landed the more powerful shots. Simple. KSI takes round one, not by a huge margin. Round two, Tommy starts strong, but he does hit KSI in the back of the head again. This is kind of the biggest turning point of the fight, it seems like. Tommy gets a point taken off for hitting in the back of the head. It should have been good. That was good from the referee to do that. Luckily, it didn't really seem to hurt KSI at all. Most of what I saw in this round was Tommy landing some shots fairly well, but KSI kept slamming into him in the clinch. If I had to give this to either person, I really do think that it's potentially more reasonable to give round two to KSI. But just to give Tommy the best shot he can, let's give this round to Tommy Fury, even though it's a bit dubious as to whether he should get it or not. So including the point deduction, that's a draw round if we're giving it to Tommy Fury. There wasn't much to say about round three. Tommy landed cleaner punches, but KSI was still implementing his game plan. I think this round goes to Tommy. In round four, I started thinking about the clinching and thinking about who's the one who's actually doing the grabbing here. Because what seems to happen is KSI lunges in, which is his style, but it seems that Tommy's holding him there rather than moving out of the way or anything like that. And this is the thing as well. KSI is doing better while this holding's going on. He's getting more punches through heavier punches. So if most of the fight is holding, and KSI is doing better while the holding's going on, then KSI is doing better for most of the fight. So surely he wins, right? Even towards the back half of the fight where people might tire and technique can go out the window, KSI is making Tommy miss a lot more than people could expect. It's a close round again, but KSI implements his game plan slightly more and probably lands the better shots. Round to KSI. Round 5 again, there wasn't much to say. The same story carries on with the inside work. The only thing that either guy did that was even decent in this round was KSI showing a tiny bit of skill to slip away from some of Tommy's punches, and does land while doing that. So literally just from that, because the rest of everything else was even, I'm going to give round 5 to KSI. The final round, both guys exchange a little, mostly holding like the rest of the fight. Something I've not seen mentioned is Tommy hits KSI before the referee says box again after a clinch. You know, no one's mentioned that, but it was a very even round. KSI did get one okay overhand in. This last round I think is really hard to judge. If you really had to give it to one guy, it would be KSI, but because we're trying to be a bit more biased for Tommy Fury here, just to try and give him as much respect as possible, I'm going to call the final round a draw. So when we add up the scores, it's obvious. KSI won that fight. Simple as that. Everyone knows it. If you have to pick a winner from what we saw, it should be KSI. My theory for why Tommy Fury's won this fight is because a lot of up-and-comers with bigger names at this stage in their career are still fighting people they're supposed to beat. An example I remember seeing fairly recently was when Campbell Hatton fought, and I was sure that he lost, but the judges gave him the win. And I think this is because they know these bigger names in traditional boxing. They know who's supposed to be the next up-and-comer. I think they want to help them along their way to becoming the big star that they could potentially be. So I think that the judges didn't know who KSI is, but they see the Fury name on the other end and think, oh, he's supposed to win this. They then start to think that Fury's doing better than he actually is. It's a hard thing to really know, but I'm sure we'll mention the appeal whenever that happens, because KSI is supposed to be appealing the decision. Another thing I wanted to mention is people have been complaining about the quality of the fighting in this fight. I think people need to stop moaning. I get it. There's a lot of inside clinch work. I get it that people don't find that as exciting, but it is still an interesting part of it if you actually care about what's going on. And we got a huge fight that we all wanted to see. We had an amazing fight card. Traditional boxing struggles to get that, if they ever do. And even in traditional boxing, fights can still turn out like the one we saw. That's a gamble that you take every time you watch a boxing fight. So I just find it weird to complain about the quality of the fighting. I think it was good. I think the reason it seemed like the quality wasn't so great, if anything, was because both guys almost stalemated each other with how fairly even they were. That's all I have to say about the KSI Tommy Fury fight. KSI should have won. Thank you for watching. I need some medicine and a sleep now.